One of the documents that was found at Qumran in one of the caves that the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, in fact in Cave 1, it's called the War Rule, and it is an account of a final battle against the Kittim, in addition to a 40-year battle against the Gentile world, together with a long list of rules for battle. The battle is described as a war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. It probably dates to the 1st century BCE to the 1st century CE. The war rule uses apocalyptic language and is eschatological, that is, it deals with coming times of judgment and salvation. But it is not a revelation by a divine being to a human, as we see in Daniel and other apocalypses. And here's a picture of the cave in which it was found, and one of the columns and one of the scroll jars, which were used to store some of the scrolls. The language in the war scroll sounds very much like that of the latter part of Daniel, particularly chapters 10 through 12. For example, we have this part of Daniel 11 through 12:3. At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, but the king of the north shall rush upon him like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen, and with many ships. He shall advance against countries and pass through like a flood. He shall come into the beautiful land, and tens of thousands shall fall victim, but Edom and Moab and the main part of the Ammonites shall escape from his power. He shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall become ruler of the treasures of gold and silver, and all the riches of Egypt, and the Libyans and Ethiopians shall follow in his train. But reports from the east and the north shall alarm him, and he shall go out with great fury, to bring ruin and complete destruction to many. He shall pitch his palatial tents between the sea and the beautiful holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end with no one to help him. At that time Michael, the great prince, the protector of your people, shall arise. There shall be a time of anguish, such as has never occurred since nations first came into existence. But at that time your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. Many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. From the war scroll we have this: and the king of the Kittim shall enter into Egypt. In his time he shall go forth with great wrath, to do battle against the kings of the north, and in his anger he shall set out to destroy and eliminate the strength of Israel. There shall be a time of salvation for the people of God, and the time of dominion for all the men of his forces, and eternal annihilation for all the forces of Belial. Note that Belial is sort of new to this literature. We don't find the name of a evil angelic being in the book of Daniel, but we find it here in the Qumran war scroll. There shall be great panic among the sons of Japheth. Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid, and the supremacy of the Kittim shall cease, that wickedness be overcome without a remnant. There shall be no survivors of all the sons of darkness. Then the sons of righteousness shall shine to all the ends of the world. Note the similarity here to chapter 12 in Daniel. Continuing to shine forth until the end of the appointed seasons of darkness. Then at the time appointed by God, his great excellence shall shine for all the times of eternity, for peace and blessing, glory and joy, and long life for all sons of light. This goes on to say that in later columns, after many, many columns of rules for the war, for it is a time of distress for Israel and an appointment for battle against all the nations. The purpose of God is eternal redemption, but annihilation for all nations of wickedness. All those prepared for battle shall set out and camp opposite the king of the Kittim, and all the forces of Belial that are assembled with him for a day of vengeance by the sword of God. Then the chief priest shall stand, and with him his brothers the priests, the Levites, and all the men of the army. He shall read aloud the prayer for the appointed time of battle, as is written in the book Serachito, the rule of his time, including all their words of thanksgiving. And here in column 17, we have mention of the majestic angel Michael. He will send eternal support to the company of his redeemed by the power of the majestic angel of the authority of Michael. By eternal light he shall joyfully light up the covenant of Israel, peace and blessing for the lot of God, to exalt the authority of Michael among the gods and the dominion of Israel among all flesh. Righteousness shall rejoice on high, and all the children of his truth shall rejoice in eternal knowledge. Again, you have toward the end a mention of the multitude of Belial, Belial being the evil angelic being. And they shall, but the Israelites shall bless the God of Israel there. They shall say in response, Blessed is your name, O God of gods, for you have done wondrous things for your people, and have kept your covenant for us from of old. Many times you have opened the gates of salvation for us for the sake of your covenant. The Kittim that are mentioned in the war scroll, that actually is a word that is found in the Bible. It originally seems to have referred to the site of Kition on the island of Cyprus. There actually is an archaeological excavation there. And it comes to stand for all of Cyprus. In Jeremiah 2:10 and Ezekiel 27:6, it seems to refer to all of the Mediterranean islands. And in the Septuagint, the word used in Daniel 11:30, the ships of Kittim, is translated to indicate Romans. In 1 Maccabees, it is said that Alexander the Great came from the land of Kittim. That would, however, reference Macedonia or Greece. In the war rule, the Kittim are of Ashur, think Assyria, and some people argue that this means the Seleucids, and others argue that it refers to the Romans. One of the things this shows us is that the figures that are used to indicate the enemy are rather flexible and can be applied to different people at different times of crisis. Belial is a fallen angel in the battle between light and dark. And Michael, who is mentioned quite a bit in Daniel, is the chief good angel in the battle between light and dark. This contrast of the sons of light and the sons of darkness is characteristic of the war scroll. It's not as common in Daniel, but you can see that there are some similarities in the kinds of predictions that are being made, the idea that there is not only an earthly battle, but a heavenly battle going on, and that God, through his people, will ultimately prevail.